So anyway, these guys, I wrote about these guys this summer because of Hawk Tuah.
Sure.
Back in the news this week because of her
I
coin.
know.
Congratulations to her, obviously.
And me.
I lost my life savings.
Well, that happens.
My thing with this stuff is like, yeah, okay, it's illegal. Okay. I mean, add it to the list. But also for people that participate in the like Hawk to a meme coin thing, like, isn't the understanding that you're sort of like getting in on a big game of musical chairs and you have to get out really quick? Like, do people think getting into it that it's gonna be this
I have no
like
idea.
stable asset that they're investing in? Like, isn't everyone kind of hip to the game at this point?
I mean, I assume it's like everything with, what's the thing they always say, like con men always say in movies, like you can only con people who think they're in on the con. And it's like I think
my God, that's so true.
Everybody assumes that they're not going to be the bag holders.
Yeah.
And everybody besides
that
Haley.
explains Trump's selection.
Yeah. And I assume she'll have a cabinet position pretty soon too.
They're gonna have to give her the Matt Gaetz treatment. So nominate her, and then she'll have to like decline it, and somehow that'll make it so that she's never prosecuted.
So her like fame felt like a coalescing moment for this internet, like a sort of crowning moment when they were able to sort of make her the biggest sort of viral celebrity this year. And since Trump's election, a lot of people have been talking about young men online and where's the liberal Joe Rogan and all this kind of thing. And
put a gun in my mouth.
if there's like, I don't want to get too like taxonomical and like draw lines too tightly, but I do think there's like this internet is a useful way of talking about the big group of guys online who are not like necessarily Andrew Tate style, like super misogynist, like pickup artist types,
right,
but who are like fratty and like probably lean Republican overall, who are sort of, like intuitively conservative, contemptuous of liberals, hate protesters or activists or whatever, but aren't necessarily like, I don't know what else, 4chan, they're not reading Curtis Yarvin or whatever.
Right. I mean, I do think that kind of like millennial and Gen X manosphere is a bit dated. Like, I mean, that still exists, and obviously there's like a lot of pathways to those places out of things that I think would be considered this internet, whatever. But this internet does seem like way more of a mainstream, pardon the expression, like mid-tier, middle of the road, like arena, cultural arena, rather than a kind of like scary place where men are radicalized to care about like family court or whatever.
Right. I mean, it is like, what's funny about it is like, we're kind of are just talking about like frat guys. Like we're not necessarily even talking about some crazy, exactly. But you don't usually, for 20 years, you haven't usually encountered those guys online. And now all of a sudden they make up like a huge portion of people driving culture and ideas online.
Yes. And I do think your point about it being not expressly or specifically political, or like at least politically malleable in a lot of ways. I mean, you'll see like kind of the Barstool guys are an interesting example of this because they'll be like very pro-choice for I think like Playboy reasons or whatever, but will then care about random sort of like, oh, we spend too much money on this or that or what have you, right? So it's sort of like blockhead centrist politics.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the main principle is sort of like personal hedonism is like the right to invest in stupid meme coins and the right to bet a lot of money and the right to have unprotected sex as often as you want and like all these other things that sort of have to do with partying and having fun. And, like you don't want to overstate their impartiality or their sort of nonpartisanness. Like Tucker Carlson is like a major driver behind Zionism meme and like they're obviously like probably the bulk of them are Trump supporters. But it is funny. Like I just remember when Hawk Tuah came out, like when Hawk Tuah came out, when the meme was spreading, Ian Miles Chong and a bunch of these other sort of like explicitly right-wing, explicitly partisan chuds were trying to like find a way in on this. And it's like, this is a pretty silly like blowjob meme, and it's not going to go with like that sort of you're not going to be able to like make this a trad thing or whatever. And there's a sort of like trying to like rope it in to be a thing, like Ian Miles Chong being like it's actually anti-woke because it's Pride Week and everybody's talking about this instead of Pride Week or whatever. It's a little bit it's harder to control. I mean, these guys used to be called like South Park conservatives or
Right,
like Barstool
right.
conservatives.
Totally.
There's
Everything old is new
mess.
again.
Yeah.